Hello and welcome back to Wild Sun Art Studio. My name is Robinsunne and I'm happy to have you here. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share because it's lovely to hear from you. And this is another episode of Postcards Across the COVID Miles. I should just take out the COVID. Across any number of miles. 1 mile, half a mile, 4.5 inches, or 3,000 miles or 6,000 miles. Yeah, it's all okay. So the first thing I wanted to do with you today is do a little review of some episodes. I think this was episode 9. This was Messy Mandalas. So I just wanted to show you what they look like when they're all with their backers and kind of done up. I ended up going back in and doing a lot more details than I did in the video. I just kept drawing and trying to fill up space with the marks. So this was this was the first one I did. So yeah, just lots of curlicues and marks and shapes and even words. So I wanted to show you those because I thought they came out really nicely. It's my favorite one. It's this one that has some of the middle in it. So that is one. And then I also wanted to show you, I guess I don't have backers on many of these, but I wanted to show you some of the things I did with, yeah, I think I like it this way better. This looks like sort of a tree trunk, maybe the woods, maybe some things growing in the woods. But remember I had two different papers. One was dark and one was pretty light, and I tried putting a snippet that was left over after I cut out the 5 postcards onto the light one, and it still didn't quite show up as well. So I put this little backing of just plain red cardstock behind it. And this is sort of an example of how sometimes it's a little not quite sure whether you can see that this is a patch that I added on top. There's another one. These actually, in the video light, they're showing up really well. That's the patch on top of the yellow card. And here's a yellow patch on top of the darker blue card. See, it works out pretty well, right? It makes a design out of it. Sometimes the background is pretty fascinating, but sometimes it's kind of fun to put shapes on. These sort of remind me of that 2001 movie that had the great megaliths in it. So this is like a forest. These are the 2 megaliths in the forest from cultures far away. Yeah. I don't know. This could go that way. Oh, it could go that way too. Remember, this was the one that looked a little bit like a cypress tree. Yeah, check out these amazing seaweed. Luscious. And here I got a little more intricate, more layers. This was, the green card was a watercolor card. And I put some acrylic stamps on, not really add-ons, onto the watercolor card. So that was fun. And then this one, yeah, I wanted to go this way. Do you see all the little sequins? So I put these on with gel medium, and I actually covered over the tops once I glued these on, and I glued them on with the gel medium. And then once I glued them on, I did a covering, and they're taking days and days and days to lose their stickiness. The Mod Podge dries a little more quickly. I think there's more water in it, and it's easier for them to dry out or something. Yeah, these still keep sticking, and it's just paper on the back, and they're still sticking. So I'm gonna let those, before I throw them in the mail where they could stick to somebody else's letter, I'm gonna let those dry for another couple of weeks. Well, today we are talking about rubber stamping. So let me take you back to the genesis of my rubber stamping idea. My first idea was that I would take a piece of this rubber material. This is called Speedy Carve by Speedball. They have a pink and they have a blue, and the pink you can use with water soluble, like stamp pads, and you can also use it with oil-based inks, either one. So that just seems, it's a tiny bit more expensive, like not that much. I think it was the difference between $15.50 and $18.50, and the sheet is a 6x12, so it's huge. Yeah, so it's a little bit more expensive, but I figured I would appreciate not having to worry about what kind of inks I used. So this is this stuff. It's really curvy. It's really easy to make a mark on it just with a pencil, which is super, and I will show you why in a second. See, let's try not to get too many things under the camera at the same time. So this is my beautiful, I don't know, maybe she's a guardian, yeah. Or maybe she's just a priestess, or I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I got this idea that I have a ruler. You can't see on that ruler. Try this one. So this is actually a little bit less than 4x6. And I think the idea was that I would be able to use, remember we made this, our frame. So I'd be able to ink up this stamp, print it on paper, and then use the frame to get, like a little white around the edges. And I could just take a pencil and draw where I wanted that to be. So that's one idea. It's not my favorite idea, and I will go on and tell you more about this. Here you notice when I squished it, I must have squished it more around the edges and kind of forgotten that middle place to really push down on it, and it didn't print as well. So I did another print, which printed a whole lot better. And then this must have been the one that I really, really worked hard at getting the ink down. And her ink is the best, except, can you see right there? There must have been a little chip of the rubber that got onto the stamp, and so it printed weirdly. But anyway, that's one idea. So you could print it if you measured carefully. You could print it 3 times on a piece of paper, and then you would have a lovely original that you could take out and copy whenever you needed some extra postcards. So this was a design, and I used sort of the full 4x6, or almost the full 4x6 size for the stamp. And here's another one that I just think turned out so well. Aren't these cute? So I sent these to my kids, and they really loved them. My daughter, who's sort of, well, they're both, my kids have an art practice. Anyway, my daughter really liked this one. It's just so bold. I mean, imagine getting this in the mail, right? Hello! I'm saying hello to you. So that was another idea. And again, this is sort of the full 4x6 deal. And then I started wising up that, I mean, this rubber isn't all that cheap. When 18 bucks is 18 bucks. So I thought, well, what if I did a little teeny tiny stamp? Can you see that okay? There. And just enlarge it on the photocopy. If I'm going to photocopy them, then why don't I just start with something small and photocopy it bigger? And one of the advantages is it's really hard to get a perfect print. And so where some of the imperfections, the ink doesn't have total coverage, they're kind of magnified when you blow it up. So I blew it up, say, on the back of these. This is like 300% or something. Or maybe 275. Yeah, it's a lot. But I really love it, and so I printed out a bunch of these, and I've been practicing different kinds of coloring. Like this, I really pressed hard with the colored pencils, and I got this lovely rich color. And on this one, I used a much, much lighter hand. I did a little shading, and just, a different look. Here I used a lot of pressure again, did more shading. And this one I did both some light shading underneath and then some really hard cross hatching on top, and I like how that one came out. So that's another idea, that you can cut your stamp instead of using that much. I mean, it's a lot. That's what, like $5 worth of rubber, which is kind of fun, but still, it's $5 worth of rubber. And, this is probably, 35 cents worth of rubber. So lets the fun last a little longer by doing it a little smaller. And then I thought, well, I like the idea of cutting a block that when I enlarge it will take up the whole 4x6 space. So, well, let me show you this first. So I figured out that if I cut, let's do it this way, if I did 2 inches by 3 inches, that's exactly, if I enlarge it 200% exactly, then I would get the full 4x6 postcard. So I drew a bunch of little boxes, and last night I was just coloring around, and I made a game board. Yes, you can see that. I really want to cut this one out. This is going to be glorious, this bird with this lovely long tail. And I got the idea, actually, I'm going to have to redraw this wreath. It annoys me. But it's just really uneven. First of all, the top is sort of there, but down here it got really wonky, and I don't like it. So I'll redraw that, but I like the idea of sort of a laurel wreath like that. And then because those are round, it takes up a square amount of space, not a rectangular amount of space. So I thought, oh, I'll cut it so that there's a place for me to put a word if I want to. I once upon a time saw some jewelry that looked like this. They'd had bezel setting, and I fell in love forever and ever with bezel set jewelry. So I was just making some dangles that looked like that. That's a work in progress. I was wandering through Pinterest, and I saw these ladies with these fabulous hats, which are so fun to wear. So anyway, I just went on, and you can tell that I cut out some shapes here. So let me show you the shapes. The first shape I did was I made this little, and I just colored it with a pencil. This is a B pencil. So it's a little to the softer side, but it's not one of the really like super soft charcoal kind of. So I made a grid and I colored it in with pencil. And here is this cool thing that happens. If you have some nice soft pencil here, I'm only going to do a little bit of it here. Turn it upside down and press it on your rubber. And I've already done this once, so the pencil isn't very dark, but you can see some of the image that I just, with pressure, kind of scraped onto. So it comes off, which is really awesome because it means you could write a word like hello, flip it over onto the pink. It would say HELLO. And then when you printed it, it would come up hello. So you don't even have to worry about making things backwards, which is really such a cool idea. So just get yourself a soft pencil, do the design in pencil, and then you can just burnish the pencil on the pink. So I did a whole bunch of stamps here. This was my first stamp, and you see there's the divot that I didn't cut out here. This line isn't supposed to be there. There's something got in the middle there. And some of these boxes were really, really wonky. So I think this is the one that I ended up with that sort of came out the best. And there's still, you can see over here, it's not a perfect print, but I enlarged that, and there's the part that's a little wonky, but it still works out okay. And I took a white pen and drew over the top of it. So if I want to copy this, I'll just copy this rather than make a new print. So you start here, and I figured you could take any two coins and toss the coins. You would move one space if you got a head, one head and one tail, 2 spaces if you got 2 tails, and 3 spaces if you got 2 heads. So you could make little markers, and you and a friend could play a game, and you would get home, which is fabulous. So I've always wanted to make postcards that had games on them. It just seems genius to me. All right, so then we got to this one. And here is my drawing. Another nice thing about drawing these in pencil is that when you make a mark you don't like, you can just erase it. But again, I just put her on the pink stamp and cut around her, and this is what I got. And I left in, you can see when you cut, you have to, if you want, you need to be very careful about cutting out all the little spaces in between. And I decided that I liked that look. And Nick the Booksmith just came out with a video last night, and she Static, that was the word. This stuff that isn't really a part of the picture, but it shows up in the print anyway because you put the paper on and you squish it and you get in there. That's called static. She was doing linoleum prints, and these are definitely rubber prints. So let me show you. This was the first print I did, and I forgot to take out some of those, although I kind of like it. It reminds me of the face tattoos of the... oh, I can't remember their name. They live in New Zealand. I don't think it's Maori, although Maori is South Pacific, but I don't think, anyway, them. It reminds me of face tattoos. And I thought, yeah, that actually kind of is her energy. She has nice curly hair like people in the South Pacific often do. And this was my second one, and the nose seemed a little, the line, not the nose, but the line around the nose seemed a little thick, so I thinned it out. And I don't know which one I like the best. If you want to leave a comment, let's do it this way. This is the first one, number 1, number 2 with the thicker line, and number 3 where I lightened up some of the static. See, there's just something about the number 1 picture with all the static and this sort of dark tattoo. I don't know which one I like, but I ended up enlarging the third one. So here she is, and she is, just about exactly. She's a little too tall. I might end up taking off some space there. Actually, I think that's okay for a postcard to be like a 1/4 of an inch over 4 inches, 4 1/4 by 6, something like that. So she's really a perfect size, just like this, for a postcard. I just think she's really beautiful. So there is that one, and I have one more cut to show you. So this is the rubber stamp, and in this one I decided to leave a lot of static around here, and I also did not cut out all the way around the diamond, and I thought, oh, that's a mistake, but check this out. I kind of like that. So this is the original size of the paper cut, and here we are at 200%. And I think I maybe kind of like that. Anyway, I love they're like energy lines, the static. I like it. So I think what I'm going to do is print more of all of these, and then just like I did with the birds, I'm going to color them, make a bunch of copies, and experiment with coloring them. So here I am to say hello to you. And this beautiful, beautiful guardian. So there we are. I am not showing you how to cut. You can get some tools like this to cut with. I don't know if you can, you can tell right there. They're kind of curved or angled for cutting. These, I think, are wood tools, but they work fine on the rubber. Long before I got those, I used to just use a craft knife. So that works too. You can also make, if you really don't have a lot of money for all this stuff, you can use really cheap acrylic paint instead of ink. And you can use, the foam that sometimes, actually, they don't use this a whole lot anymore for, we used to get a tray of like broccoli or something, and now they use a sort of paper tray, but they used to use styrofoam trays, and that kind of styrofoam works just fine. I think you can also mess around with craft foam, that kids brightly colored craft foam. You can take a dull pencil like this and make marks in it that kind of stay. You can also mess around with making a mark with something that's heated. Yeah, I haven't done any experimenting with that, but that's another way to not spend too much money while you're making these. And you could also draw something that looks like a faux rubber print. I mean, you could just draw in all this static with a black pen and ink, and that would cost you whatever a flare costs, like $1. So, yay. I wish you happy experimentations. I wish you hello from my little corner of Maine. I wish you the wisdom of birds. Let's pull her down a little bit. And the safety of a guardian and the love of a heart. I wish you a lot of fun with symbols. Rubber stamps are a great place to experiment with the symbols that mean whatever in your life. Many blessings, my dearios. Have fun, and I will see you next time. Bye.